The college football offseason has certainly tossed us a number of storylines and narratives, some that we were expecting to see and have to deal with, others that have blindsided us, whether that be pertaining specifically to Miami, the ACC, and of course, the nation here in the last week. Welcome to the Voice of College Football, our Miami show with the Wholesome One here every Thursday. Typically on Thursday, that's one good reason that you subscribe to the channel, both his and mine. Hit up those notifications to know when we go live, because sometimes schedules have to change. Wholesome One, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Mark. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing well. We are doing well here. And certainly there's some wide-ranging, earth-shattering in the scope of college football issues going on right now with Oklahoma, Texas, the SEC, and what the ramifications and dominoes impact could be down the road. We will get to that a little bit later in the hour to get the Wholesome One's perspective. I certainly have live streams and videos that I've posted all over the place. So my opinion and my perspective on what's going to happen and what possibly could happen is all over there. But we've got the Wholesome One here to, of course, get his perspective. But it's a Miami football show first and foremost. And there has been player movement, unfortunately, in a negative way over the last several days, and much of it controversial, involving some behavior that we certainly want to see the truth found out in the end.
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and address the first elephant in the room when it comes to number one and number two safety in the class of 2019 or 20, one or the other. It doesn't matter. When it comes to Avonte Williams, one of the best young men and players and things of that nature. And we were very excited about what he was going to do for us on the football field. Early on in his career, he had a neck injury here at Miami that was found out by our doctors. So he was not able to partake in football as far as playing with the pads on. Then year two comes, and number one, he stayed out of any trouble, kept his nose clean, stayed eligible, and things of that nature. He gets his opportunity for spring ball. He plays. He looks like one of the best players on the football field. Earlier last week, Wednesday, some things came to the light, and a lot of people took that opportunity to either come on YouTube or go on Twitter or go on their podcasts and take shots and make comments on things that they don't know information on. I can say wholeheartedly, with all the information that came out, it's not my job to come out and attack either way, for or against, in this situation. All I can say is that I hope that whatever happened, whether it be the 100% truth or made up or whatever, that we get to the bottom of it and that justice is served. And you can take that however way you want, guys. So therefore, if he is found and all of this is hoopla, then I think that he should get another opportunity to play college football. I don't know if it should be at Miami or I don't care. Hopefully, if he's completely innocent, then he is at Miami. But if something did go down and things went in a direction that a lot of people talk about, it's a very sad and depressing situation, and I hope again that justice be served. I said this on my channel last night, which I'm Monday live every Monday at 8 p.m. I actually was on time, Mark. I was on 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was on time and
Nice.
live to the point where it was like 5 minutes in, and I had like 2 views, and then it like boom, everybody was like, "Oh, you're on time." But anyway, back to the serious situation. I don't really want to speak much on it, and I asked Mark to give me this opportunity to speak on this platform and to say it this way, even though he gave me the opportunity not to speak about it. If I did not want to, I chose to bring this up because I think it should be known that no matter which way this goes, I hope that get down to the bottom of it, the truth is found out, and that justice is served. We don't need to be bringing this back up anymore. I know that other fan bases have taken their shots at us, and I understand that. I hope that you have more decency in your heart not to do something like that, because there was a child and a woman involved in this, and that goes past football and past rivalry. So I hope that you can find in your heart not to do things like that, because it's not just attacking the University of Miami. That's just, you shouldn't do certain things, okay? Well, we put that to rest until all of the legalities are handled. And, I wish whoever is looking into this Godspeed, because I am not envious of your job having to look into what happened on that day. Anyhow, talk about two other players who are no longer a part of the University of Miami's football program. Defensive end Cam Williams came in and as a freshman was on the academic red shirt. So from Jump Street, issues with his academics. And Jalir Holly, made the ESPN. Come on, man. When Miami's losing to FIU and he's on the sideline dancing. Okay. Both of them are no longer a part of this program due to academic ineligibility. So I wish them the best of luck. I don't know. COVID-19 affected players in different ways. It's just that simple. And when it comes to keeping your academics up, I just hope that we do understand that as of right now, this is still, athlete, student athlete, however you want to put it. You have to be eligible to go on our football field and make the plays. So that's a part of your job. You got to make sure that we get that done. And as of right now, those two players did not get it done to the point where they will be seeking shelter elsewhere because they could not maintain it here at the University of Miami.
We talk Miami football with all of you each and every week, and typically the mood, the vibe is a little bit more upbeat as, of course, we want to talk about the X's and O's on the field and the personnel and the games coming up. Alabama's front and center just 5 weeks away, and Miami coming off an 8-3. Alabama, of course, the defending national champion. Please leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics there in the live chat, and we will get them to the Wholesome One. And, of course, if I have something to chime in on, I certainly will. So I believe August 6th, I believe that's the date. Yep. Day number 1, training camp. So from your past experience, from what you currently do in regards to your role and responsibilities there at the university, at a high-level institution that's a football program that's certainly used to winning, no question about that, based on your playing experience, coaching experience, assisting there. What are some of the things maybe that your typical football fan doesn't know about training camp and what goes on and what's important to the coaches and players? And can you give us an insider look?
Man, Mark, one of the biggest things is people don't understand. You're literally dealing with like a 16-hour day, and it's all surrounded by football. Okay, you got your early morning wake-up call, which is about 5:45. For your 6 a.m., I could go through the schedule here. So you got a 6 a.m. mandatory team meeting. You got the crust in your eyes, got the water jugs in your hand, and come and walk in with your slides. You come sit in the auditorium, and one of the GAs or QCs or student assistants comes up, and they go down the entire list, 100+ people, reading off, and they here. You go through attendance, and that takes about 15 minutes. You go from that to you split off into your personal meetings, okay? And you go in and you sit down. Let's say for the defensive line, defensive ends, defensive tackles, they go in and sit, they talk. Then we go over what we're going to do for the day. That could be an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. Let's go with an hour for sake of time. So it's 7:30, and now you had your attendance. Okay, we're here on time. We made it to our meetings. We discussed what the day is going to be, where you need to be, what time things are. Here are all of your itineraries for everything that you have personally. Okay, make sure you got your water on you, making sure that we're staying hydrated the entire time. Go from that. You have mandatory breakfast at about 8 a.m. After that, then you go to your first lifting session. And sometimes you can split it up into offense or defense. You can go into big boys and skill position, however you want to break it up. But at the highest level, usually you have a big enough facility where everyone can fit in. But like, again, I can speak to what we do. So we split it up sometimes. And so let's say, for example, if it's big boys in the weight room with them, you would go outside and you would do a 7-on-7 walkthrough early in the morning. So we're going to do this for our noon practice, okay? But we want to make sure that we're walking through. We're going over it. We're doing our hand gestures? What happens when we go from 3-by-1 to 2-by-2? What happens when that tight end comes from inline out to the slot receiver? What happens when a running back goes from in the backfield over to one of the, let's say you're in a pistol and he goes from back here to the right side or to the left side of the running of the quarterback? What are we doing? What are our calls? What are our adjustments? Things of that nature. We're going to walk through it. Then you're going to have, some people, Mark, have different levels of walkthroughs. So you have simple walkthroughs where we're just standing there, or it sounds like a game in there and they're screaming and Roger, move. They're screaming and we're trying to create that type of atmosphere, because when you go and play at these games, it's going to be loud. We're not talking, okay? And then you're going to have the receiver, you got backup defensive players out there running routes and things of that nature, and you're supposed to cover, and the QB throws the ball and tip the ball in the air on purpose. The DB catches the ball. You yell, Oski. You make sure everybody's creating that line, a wall down. The cornerback runs down. We get in the end zone. We celebrate. Boom, we do it all over again. Okay, so that takes you probably about, let's say, 10 o'clock with meetings. And you're going to have your special teams meetings, okay? Then you're also going to be ready for your very first practice. So that's kind of where the morning goes. So you're going to have your second weight room session sometime in there. You're also going to have your second walkthrough. You're going to have film from the first practice. You're going to have your evening practice at 4 or 5 o'clock. Then you go through all of that. You got shower time. You have your dinner. You're also going to have film from your second practice. You're going to have your evening stretch. You're going to have your evening meeting. Lights out at 10:30. We're starting all over again tomorrow morning at 5:30. So it can be pretty intense, man. And you're talking about 20 to 28 days of some rigorous hours. And the tough part about it is being able to have leadership in your program, Mark, to where the older guys can pull along the young guys who are full of energy and excited. And what happens when you have a bad practice? What happens when you show up late to a meeting? What happens when you're not lifting the way that you used to because your body is just beat on and you're tired and you're sore? Being able to really have that type of leadership to pull a young man aside to where a coach doesn't have to say anything. And the coach might be chewing your behind. Why aren't you running hard enough? Why are you? And the older players able to just pull you, hey, just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep showing up. Okay. And being there 5 minutes early, being there 10 minutes, beating coaches to the film rooms and things of that nature, making sure we're not walking on the football field. There's a lot of things that come into it. And when you have great leadership on a team, man, it makes a lot of that stuff so much easier, because even for us on the sideline, I mean, we get chewed out too. If the defensive coordinator just called the play where that defensive line is supposed to be slanting, and your through technique didn't slant, he's not going after the young man. He's finding whoever the defensive line, whether it's the interior defensive line coach or the full defensive line coach, and that person's getting the earful. And that's why that coach goes off on the player. I told you it was slant right. What are you doing? Because the defensive coordinator just chewed his behind, man. But that's somewhat of the negative things. It also turns into such a great camaraderie because you spend so much time with your brothers in arms. And you also develop some great relationships and great friendships that 5, 10, 15 years after you're done playing, you still can call that person. And you still build, your kids may even call him an uncle, and that's not really his brother. Those type of things happen a lot in these practices, and you build good rapport. Like I keep talking about leadership, Mark, because it's nothing like it, man. It's nothing like having those older guys in a program, showing the people under them. So the seniors and the juniors know what it is, because the seniors and juniors before them really help build that rapport and build the core. So the sophomores, freshmen, redshirt freshmen, kind of running around with their heads cut off, trying to keep up. But it's all about being able to keep that one-on-one relationship with the older guys and your big brothers in the program, really holding things together, so that, there's times where players have early meetings. Defensive line or linebackers all meet an hour before we start scrimmages, or hour before. Hey, we're going to hurry up and eat our breakfast. We're going to go have our own film session. We're going to go have our own walkthrough before we go have walkthrough together as a defense, because I don't need you getting chewed out. We're not going to do up downs. We're not going to do burpees or crab crawls or whatever, because you don't know where you're supposed to be on this defensive call. So we're going to walk it over. We're going to talk it out. We're going to go on the board. And it's just helping one another grow. And, man, it's so much that happened. It can be very stressful. It can be really worn down on your body and mentally. But when you make it out of it, it's a very exciting achievement to be able to make it through some of these camps, because they can be rigorous, man. They can be very, very rigorous. But it's exciting. And every week that we talk, it's a new week, and it's closer and closer and closer. And for me, it starts on August 5th, and for the Canes, it starts on August 6th. So I already have a nice kickstart on camp before the Canes get to it 24 hours after me. So things are going to be fun and exciting for both of us. And I think it's going to be a good season. And I'm hoping we're about to get into a couple of the position battles and things of that nature to keep an eye out on a little bit from now. So,
Marquise Whitty, thank you so much for the super sticker. We see you here supporting us. We appreciate that. All right. Got a question coming in as we will roll through them. So basically, we've got, for me to read some of these handles, Kings of the Fat Shag, is that where we are with that? Okay. So Kings, the question coming into the wholesome one would be your 5 wide at wide receiver. And before you answer that question, so my thought going into it is obviously Mark Pope and D. Wiggins have the most reps. They have the most on film. We know the most about them. There is an opportunity for them, one of them, both of them, to have a fire lit under them and to prove that they're better players than what we think. But most likely, they've shown us who they are. Most likely. Now, the rest of those guys, there's hope that they are playmakers. And their recruiting rankings, especially for some of them, would say that they are. Mike Harley, let's throw him into the mix, obviously. He's a proven commodity.
I realize why you didn't add him, because he's kind of, like you said, he's the proven commodity. Yeah. It's not, those other two are big question marks as to what they're going to bring to the table. So, I mean, I knew exactly what you meant with that one. I was like, oh, yeah, no need to bring up Mike Harley. He's shown he's ready,
So basically my point was going to be that stock can rise and fall during the next month. Correct. That there's opportunity there for guys to step up and show that they can play, and other guys will drop back. But as it stands right now, what do you think that 5 wide is going to look like?
We're going to have Rambo. We're going to have Harley. The only way I would really like it is if with Harley in the slot. If people get this misconstrued, like a slot receiver isn't a starter. To me, I think on the outside should be Rambo and Keyshawn Smith. Those should be our 2 outside guys, in my opinion. Then I would have Harley in the slot. Opposite of Harley, and on the other side in the slot would be Mark Pope. So Mark Pope would come in at number 4 for me. And then number 5 would be based on if we want Xavier Restrepo going up against those nickels, or do we want to go with a bigger body? And that's where you would have your Wiggins or your Redding or your Warsham kind of conversation right there for wide receiver number 5. And that's just my top 5 as far as where we're going to go. So, again, I think Keyshawn Smith has done so much. He's just played on a different level, high point in the football, all the stuff we've been wanting. And, shout out to Cam Underwood, who was huge on the Keyshawn Smith train years ago at this point now. And now he's added the weight to that, plus his speed. Yeah, that young man is going to be a big time problem for us. But for me, I think having a number 1 in Rambo, a proven guy at OU. His last year there was kind of iffy with the dropsies and things of that nature. You also have Keyshawn at number 2 and then Harley at 3. So for me, Harley would either be a slot. The reason why he's a number 3 is because he would be in the slot. If not, I would have him. So we only have 2 wide receivers. I would want Rambo and Harley out there. So just to clarify that. But yeah, the closer we move to the ball, I think there's opportunities for Mark Pope and D. Wiggins on the inside, the closer that we move to the football.
I hate it that we've got a number of people. We've got tons of people that are faithful viewers, but they can't make because of work and other obligations. I'm sure that they can't make the live show, but they're here supporting and so forth. And Marquise Whitty seems to be one of those. So he finally is able to make a live show, throws us this super sticker, and the wholesome one can appreciate the been vibing on the hashtag rewatch squad. First time on the hashtag live squad. Woo woo. Go Canes. Hashtag no Knowles never. All right.
That's a nice hashtag.
John, want to let you know, people ask all the times about notifications. Here's the only bit of information I can give you that's a bit of a guess on why sometimes you get the notifications and other times you don't, because my process is exactly the same. I've heard somebody say that YouTube will only send out one notification per channel per day or something like that. So it's always the first one. I don't know if that's the case because I'm not on the other side of it.
I never thought about that. That makes sense. But I don't think so, because I have your notification and I get all of them. But that's where I also think people may not understand is when you go in and you hit the subscribe and then you gotta, because it'll come up in 3 blocks. So it'll say sometimes, never notificate, and all notifications. You got to go up and click the top one that says all notifications if you want to get that.
We got our guy 904 Hurricane, who was the first one to even comment on the chat, and that's not unusual. Wholesome one, if you had a chance to see anything on Omar Graham, the linebacker out of Fort Lauderdale.
You know what? I owe 904. I think he was the person that was on last. I owe him an apology. So last week we were on, right? And remember that linebacker that was brought up in the conversation last week? His name was Justin Medlock, the Texas linebacker.
Oh, yeah. Okay, committed.
So remember, initially, when we read off the fact that he was the 454 prospect, like barely 500, I bust out laughing. I'm like, that has to be wrong. There's no way in the world Miami's recruiting that guy. But then I go in and do some more research. Well, I don't know who is evaluating stuff at 247, because you look at ESPN and he's the 11th ranked linebacker in the country, and he's a 4-star recruit. But then you look over at 247, he's the 48th ranked inside linebacker, and he's 454th overall.
And I was reading the composite. I always read the composite. So that is taking ESPN's ranking into it. So 247 and or Rivals has him even a lot lower than that, because that's taken in the ESPN ranking.
It's mind blowing. But then I said, okay, what do we do now? We turn on the film. So yesterday we evaluated live his junior film. So he got hurt after the 3rd game of the season, and his team played 8 total games. He only had like 21 tackles or something, so like 2 TFLs, an interception, because he ended up tearing the ACL, or it was like a real big knee injury, right? So we watched that, and it was pretty solid. So I said, let's watch this sophomore film, because there's no way in the world, when we go on 247, there's a difference between an offer list and people who are actively recruiting you. When it's active recruiting, it'll show a primary and a secondary recruiter. Okay, he's actively being recruited by Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon. So there's no way in the world this guy is as low as people are saying. We watched the sophomore film, and Mark, my jaw almost hit the floor. Just like, whoa, what did they miss? I'm not saying he's some 5-star, he's the greatest linebacker. That's not what I'm saying, but how was that evaluation just so drastic, and the difference between the two? It just didn't make any sense to me at all. It was really sad. But anyway, 904 Hurricane brought him up and asked about him, and I owe him an apology for that. But I do know and have seen film on Omar Graham. Omar Graham is committed to Tallahassee right now. The thing about Omar Graham was Miami thought he was a little too slow to play linebacker at Miami. He's more of a downhill thumper, heavy foot kind of guy. He's not can play an open space 4-2-5 linebacker, according to Miami Hurricanes evaluation. So he's going to go to Tallahassee and be their middle linebacker, or maybe go somewhere else. Who knows? But as of right now, he's not a Cane because of that.
Our man Martin's on the line. Martin's been watching us for a long, long time. Appreciate you being here, Martin. Martin asking about Corey Flagg. Played in 6 games last year, 15 tackles out of that 2020 class. That if Flagg starts at the mic, who would you put at the wheel and why?
Okay. So number one, if he starts, I think there will be a battle between Tyreek Austin-Cave, BJ Jennings, and for me, I would want Sam Brooks at the weak side. So we'll go with that evaluation, him on the weak side. And Corey Flagg up the gut. And Way Mystique. Those 4 up the gut as the middle linebacker. The question was who will start opposite of him. I believe it's going to be Keontre Smith. I apologize. So Keontre Smith was a backup striker last year to Gilbert Frierson. Gilbert Frierson wears number 3. Keontre Smith wears number 4. And in the spring game, Keontre Smith was the weak side linebacker. Gilbert Frierson was a striker, and Flagg was the middle linebacker. And Keontre Smith was able to, go sideline to sideline, making his open field tackles on all of our backs in that game. So I think he is the winner for the weak side linebacker conversation. In that weak side linebacker conversation, you have guys like Sam Brooks, Way Mystique to play in both middle and weak side, guys like Avery Huff with the big 4-star history from St. Thomas Aquinas. And you have a guy like Chase Smith, don't forget that name, Mark, in there for weak side linebacker. What I'm happy about is with that position is people are finally understanding that weak side linebacker and striker are the same thing. It's the same position, okay? You need to be able to have that speed and athleticism out there. If you want to have a big whole space eater in the middle, that makes sense. I understand that. Shaq Quarterman, guys like that, I get that kind of sentiment for the up the gut kind of plays. But anything outside of that box needs to be able to cover.
Valdez, our man Valdez with a super chat. Haven't seen Valdez in a while, I don't think. Valdez just letting me know Ohio State was the 2020 fraud. Justin Fields is a fraud. Hi, Mark. So Valdez and anybody else that wants to, I guess, try to irritate me. I'm having a good day. Everything's good. That doesn't really sway me one way or the other. Ohio State 2020 fraud. I don't know what that makes. Clemson, Ohio State beat Clemson by 3 touchdowns. They were the number 2 team in the country, and they beat 2 other top 15 teams in 6 games. So they dusted off 3 top 15 teams pretty easily, and one of them was Clemson by 3 touchdowns. I don't know what that means, being a fraud. But anyway, if other people want to throw in $5 and make derogatory comments, I'm good with that.
I say it all the time. You want to take shots at me, you throw $5-10 on it. Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Keep it above the belt.
Sure.
But,
Yeah. We got the King coming back with this question concerning defensive tackle. So we assume he means Miami. If you could have coached one D tackle from 2010 until now, who would be your choice?
I like this question because I think a lot of people already know my answer because he's on the active roster right now. But if we're going back to 2010, that means I could have been able to help out a guy like Marcus Forston, who was a 5-star defensive tackle from Miami Northwestern. Oh, man, I think we could have helped him out a lot. Or guys like Anthony Moulton that was supposed to be anything. So I'll give you 1A and 1B. I would love to be able to go back and help change the life of a player like Marcus Forston, who's right now part of the Atlanta PD, doing his thing as a police officer and trying to be a part of the change. So we're happy about that. But as far as him as a football player, man, I would have loved to have been able to be a part of that kind of career and help him take a different step. But Nasty will always be my number one, man. That's my guy, and much love to him.
So our man Sam is asking this question. It's kind of generalized. You could apply it to all sorts of players at different positions, but it's almost that thought process that do we go the safe route against Alabama and try to limit the damage, or do we say, hey, we've hardly ever seen this person, and that person in a game, in a meaningful game, meaningful snaps, but man, they were the better player in camp. So we're going to give them more times and give them a look against the best team in the country.
Here's my thing. If you evaluate the end of last season, okay, you go from that, you go to spring ball and camp. If we are continuously having the same issue with players, you said it earlier, Mark, you've shown who you are. Sorry, not sorry. These young men have been waiting for their opportunity to take a different step and to really change things for their lives. Why not give them that chance, man? They come to practice, they put in the effort just like these other guys, and you don't want to have a disdain for your coaching staff or for the older players within your program, okay? If these younger players are better than the older players, number one, you did a good job of recruiting. Number two, you did a good job in being able to keep them on your roster. Number three, you don't want them to hit the portal just because you're a seniorism guy. You don't want that. The best player deserves to play. I don't care if they're 18, 24. It's that simple.
We got FTW chiming in with a bold prediction. He says, I think Al Blades is going to kill it at slot corner if he's healthy this season. I know that's an unpopular option, but I'm rolling with it.
That's nice. That's nice. Hey, stand on your ground. Like I say, stand on your ground. If that's how you honestly feel, do your thing. Do your thing, man. And to be honest with you, sir, I think that is a great opportunity. If that does go through, then that only means that he's gotten better, which is that's what we want. We want players to get better. We want them to have this big breakout season and continue to build on what they've done before. Those of us that cover the game and cover this team, we don't sit and pray and, oh, man, I hope he sucks. Oh, I hope they pull his scholarship. No, we don't. That's stupid. Okay, that's not. We don't. That doesn't do anything for us. Being able to see these young men come into a program, get better, achieve degrees, and then go off to move the needle for their family financially. That's what we want to see. So if Al Blades Jr. comes out and actually shows that he could take that step, good for him, man. Good for him.
The Wholesome One, a number of times, has certainly outlined where Miami stands and what the shortcomings of the program have been in comparison to elite programs, whether that's a facility thing or a coaching staff requirement or something like that, and where Miami's catching up and has been making some strides in the last few years to get there. This is something that hasn't been talked about. I certainly would have no knowledge of this in regards to what the standard is, what's expected, and what you would see at an elite program that D-Rock Irish is talking about concerning a nutritionist on staff and how involved they are during the preseason.
Well, I can answer that question. So there's a coach, Coach Bellamy, and so they work together with our strength and conditioning staff. So you have Coach Feely and his assistants. You have Coach Bellamy with nutrition. Reason why I know that is a lot of players have been talking about this coach, and we're privy to have someone in a very close member of my family, and Aunt Pedro, and he's a stepfather of Devon Donaldson. So we get a nice inside conversation with things like that. And he's only been a part of the staff since like late 2019, January of 2020. So really only going on the first year or two in the program. And we're seeing a big change in the bodies because they're giving them nutrition plans. They're giving them meal plans and meal prep and things of that nature. So that's really big for the program. And in the off season, he's also one of the coaches or people who are licensed to be around our players. Obviously, our regular coaches can't be there, but the strength and conditioning staff and the nutrition staff can be a part and be around our players. So I think in the offseason, his biggest thing is being able to give them, based on what the coaches want. If they want a player at such and such weight to go up, if they want a player at such and such weight to go down, his body fat to go down, things of that nature, then they're going to communicate that to the strength conditioning and the nutrition staff, and then they're able to make a plan, a workout plan, a nutrition plan, to make that work out well for the player.
We've got our guy Devin Ray here. Devin, hey, good to see you. Asking about DJ Scaife, got beaten badly a number of times last year.
Yeah, I agree. But that's because he's not a guard. And he was getting moved around because he's 298 pounds, maybe 304, somewhere in there. Going into the season, he's a tackle. But he's also not the longest tackle in the world. He's like 6'2 and a half, 6'3 offensive tackle. So it's it's a real tough situation when it comes to DJ Scaife because he has the body of a guard as far as length and things of that nature, but size as far as his girth and his height of a tackle, kind of, So to me, I felt like he was a center, 6'3", 304 pounds. That sounds like a center. That doesn't sound like a right tackle. That sounds like a left tackle. Sounds like a center. But we kind of have that position on lock with guys like Corey Gaynor, Ja'Kai Clark, and Ryan Rodriguez of the future. So he also lost that right tackle position to Jared Williams, number 62, the 7th-year college football player who played with De'Aaron King at Houston. So, and both of our offensive tackles, and Zion Nelson and Jared Williams, made the Outlander Trophy watch list today. Especially got the only preseason ACC first-team All-Americans was our punter, Lou Hedley, and our free safety, the light-skinned warrior, Bubba Bolden. So we're getting some love and getting some attention.
Devin, thank you both for the consistent great content. I don't always catch the live shows, but I always watch them after, even if I don't, and you guys do a real professional job. We also have a back and forth here a bit between Tevin, who believes that made the same comment about Scaife being better at tackle than guard, and believes the offensive line is going to be better. But then we got Devin. So we got Devin with an O, we got Devin with an I, and then we got Tevin all taking part in a conversation. So we got to keep that straight. But Devin coming in here with the offensive line being overrated, and in particular made another comment about the interior offensive line and being extremely concerned at the point of attack.
As he should. There's nowhere in the world that we should have 301-pound guards and centers trying to move people at the highest level. I love Ja'Kai Clark, but at the end of the day, Ja'Kai Clark is a center. He's a center, okay? And last season, he started for us at left guard at 304 pounds. And we want to be a power spread RPO system. 304 pounds at left guard, 301 pounds at right guard, and I don't care what the roster says. Okay, when you meet these players in person, when you see them compared to other people who weigh around 318, 312, they were not up there like that. And you had Corey Gaynor, who was early in the 300s. So I'm just keeping it honest with you, Mark. They put on a lot of weight, but if you watch the 2020 season last year, left guard through right guard, none of them were higher than 310 pounds. There's just no way that should happen at this level, okay? I understand, yes, we have some shortcomings as far as people getting hurt, people not living up to the expectation, and so certain players had to play who were too young or maybe should have been at another position that had to move in. We just had to go with the best that we had. But that's been the problem of the program, is that we should never be in a situation like that. I'm not saying Miami should be the national champs every year and blow everybody out by 70. No. but it's nowhere in the world you're at the Power 5 level. And you are at a conference like the ACC, and you're trying to beat teams like North Carolina and beat teams like Clemson, line up against teams like Alabama in non-conference games, Florida and Texas A&M coming down the line. The big thing you see right now, Navon Donaldson came and took that right guard position. Well, he's 333 pounds. Okay, that's a little different than 301. And he's 6'6", not 6'2 and a half. Okay. Corey Gaynor's put on some real nice weight. He's coming in at 6'3", 314 pounds, and he actually looks like a 314, 315-pound guy at center. Okay, we could be a little lighter. You go to the left guard position. Jalen Rivers at 6'5", 331 pounds. That's a guard at this level. So the interior offensive line, I understand from his perspective, there can be a view of it being overrated because you haven't seen this combination of players play together on the football field in real life. But I promise you this, being able to line up with 318-pound plus centers and guards will look completely different than people averaging anywhere from 299 to 304 at left guard, center, and right guard. It's just that simple, okay?
Got the wholesome one here to talk Miami football with you each and every week. Please leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics, and consider supporting us as well, because the wholesome one gives of his time. He's got a ton going on, and we are building out a network here at the Voice of College Football. So consider that. All right, let's get to this conference realignment, because you told me before we started that you had a certain feel about this.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I've been watching all of these videos. Everybody's going up in arms, and this is the worst thing that happened to college football. When the SEC this, the SEC that. Listen, it's okay. The sun is still gonna come up tomorrow. Your wife is still going to give you a kiss and hug you. It's okay. Your boss is still going to hate you when you go to work tomorrow, okay? It's all right. Your teenage daughter still won't care what you have to say. The SEC adding Texas and Oklahoma is going to give you some of the best games in recent college football history. But guess what? We've been seeing that for the longest anyway. It's not going to change. So keep rooting for your – if you are a Texas A&M fan, it's okay. If you're a USC fan, if you're an Oregon fan, if you're a Nebraska fan, it's okay. College football is still in good rates. It's all right. Calm down. Take a deep breath. It's okay. 2 prestigious programs joined the best conference, and it's been the best conference for 15 years. Okay, the best players come out of this area, and they still go to the best schools in the area. The Big Ten did have a nice conversation for that, like the middle of last decade, with Ohio State, Michigan doing very well. But guess what this is going to do? It's going to send a beacon to everyone else. You better get your ish in order. It's just that simple. The ACC, you can either bow down and join them or kiss their behind, or you can say, you know what? Beep you. We're going to add some people to our conference, and we're going to pull our ish together. Miami is going to pull their ish together. Tallahassee is going to pull their ish together. North Carolina and Clemson have been holding it together, and we're going to try to pull a better conference and be more about football. The Big Ten, you have opportunities to add more people to you all, and hopefully Michigan gets their head out of their behind and stop kissing khaki pants behind and give them some good assistant coaches, help him in recruiting, get him some real recruiters on his staff, and take that program to the different level. The Pac-12, wake up out of irrelevancy, okay? Try to hold on to your own players and build something good on the West Coast besides Oregon. Oregon's the only thing that's worth watching on that side of the country, okay? In the Big 12, you have the perfect opportunity to add an elite program like UCF, elite programs like Memphis and Cincinnati, and bring something different to your sport. I look at it like this. It's an opportunity to be appreciative. Yeah, 2 really good brand names have joined the SEC. Is it going to stop with just Texas and Oklahoma? Who knows? But all of this hoopla about creating 30 great teams joining the SEC, and they're going to become the new semi-pro. And there's no more college football anywhere else. Calm down. Calm down, man. College football has always had a great way of balancing itself, having a good way of bouncing back. And I think everyone else surrounding the SEC, instead of kissing their behinds and joining them, is going to give them the good old DX chop. And they're going to say, you know what? We're going to start getting serious about our stuff. And we got, 3 or 4 years to do it, because that's when they joined in 2025. It's 2021. Hopefully, Tallahassee and Clemson and Miami and North Carolina and Fog Tech pull their stuff together and make the ACC a very valuable conference. And maybe we're able to add teams like a USF or a SMU or Houston and tap into that Texas market. Because I look at things, Mark, and you've made it well known that this isn't just about football, okay? But for me, that's how I look at it. This is a football move. My response is through football. My response is not about political stuff. My response is not about off-the-field supremacy. My response is, it has nothing to do with that, or the South will rise again and they're fighting the Civil War. Yeah. Nah, I'm not into any of that stuff. I'm talking about the football play on the field. It's just that simple, man. I think all these conferences have a chance to really pull it together. And I think that this scared a lot of people into, oh, crap, they're serious. Yeah. And that's okay, because Oklahoma and Texas are going to go over there and be ranked number 4 and number 5. In the SEC, the argument could be made that this was a really stupid football move for them, but maybe they care more about the cha-ching-a-ling than they care about the play on the football field. So, again, I respect all takes. I respect all humans. I respect people's view on certain things. But when you ask the wholesome of all Holloways, this is a great football move. And I think everyone is going to respond to this football move and really invest, because if you're adding almost $1 billion market in UT to an already almost $1 billion conference, and they're going to join together, then people are going to realize, man, you better put some money together and you better do it fast. Okay. Yeah, baby. I've been waiting to say that. I'm tired of this one, Mark. I can't do it. Oh, I mean, Mark, the comments are crazy. Oh, the SEC ruined college football. The SEC has been dominating college football for 15 years. So you had a really good program in Oklahoma and an above-average program in Texas to an already really good conference, and now this is the nuclear bomb that blew up college football? No. The nuclear bomb that blew up college football was ESPN and investing in the SEC in 2010 and making the focus to that part of the country. That's what was a nuclear bomb, if we're being honest. But it's what we live in. It's what today's society is about. And at the end of the day, college football is here, man. College football is here.
Anthony would like for me to read his comment, and after I do that, I will make a statement here. Anthony's previous comment. Wholesome one. There's actually rumors, because of this situation with Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, that the Big Ten and the ACC are going to merge. Does that make sense to you?
Geographically, not necessarily. If there were two conferences that I believe that should merge, I would say the Big 8 and the ACC, because they can span all underwords. So from Texas all the way up to West Virginia, and then all the way up to Pittsburgh, and basically take that kind of L look of college football. The other one I would say is the inverse of that on the opposite end, and that would be the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the Pac-12 coming together, and the West Coast and the Northern Midwest teams coming together on that end, and then basically the SEC just the middle, and you get basically got like what a Big 3 kind of look to it. That would be the only things that I would see could make sense in the mergers of the conferences to me.
Well, I've done 4 or 5 live streams.
Oh yeah, I was in yours last night.
And
I don't know if you saw that.
I've been around doing this for 2 and 3 hours at a time, and plus I posted a bunch of videos. So if anybody wants to know what I think, they can go there. I don't want to waste people's time because it's all well documented what I think. There's some of what the Wholesome One is saying that I agree with. There's other stuff that I don't necessarily disagree with, but I take it to a different place. Much like where Notre Dame sits in college football, I don't blame Notre Dame for their situation. It's not Notre Dame's fault. So in this situation, I don't have any issue with what the SEC is doing or what Oklahoma and Texas are doing. None at all. I don't like this situation. And again, I'm not going to get into it here. I don't like what it potentially could do. If things stand pat, I don't think it's changing the universe or anything, but it could have domino effect. And there are different reasons why I don't like that. But I don't have any issue with the SEC trying to make their conference better and make more money. And I don't have any issue with Oklahoma and Texas trying to go to the best conference in college football because they're making half the money right now. Oklahoma, this might be hard to believe, and this isn't total revenue, but this is TV revenue. Ooh. Oklahoma and Texas make half as much money as Northwestern and Illinois and Maryland do in the Big Ten. From what? TV money, just TV money.
Oh,
yeah. Really? If you look at football revenue, the Big Ten and the SEC for however many years are number one. And actually, the Big Ten the last 2 years made a little bit more money per school. The amount of money they gave per school was a little bit more than the SEC. But they're basically running like this. The figures the last few years have been like $68 million that they've given per school in revenue that they've distributed per school. And the ACC, the Big 12 are like 32, 35 million in that range. Wow. And the Pac-12 is like 28 million per team.
Wow. So where's the ACC? Like way down there.
Yeah, the ACC and the Big 12 have been about 32, 35 million, about a little less than half as much as the Big 10 and the SEC. So once Oklahoma and Texas go to the SEC, they're automatically going to make like 35 million more, plus the value that they bring to the SEC and all those TV contracts get renegotiated. There's going to be even much higher than that. So I don't blame anybody involved for the moves they're making.
I don't understand it, Mark. I try to give people's understanding, and I guess I understand why they feel the way that they do. I just don't agree. Maybe I should say that. I for one never want to sound like the old guy crying on the porch, mad at the world nowadays. But at the end of the day,
I don't have any issue with. I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong. I just don't like it. This is what I don't like about it is basically your first remembrances of college football, I'm guessing, is that all of us can go back and even today look at each conference and there's a different brand of football. There's a different feel. There's a flavor. There's a character. There's a personality to every conference. There's a personality to Big Ten football that's different than SEC football. That's different from the Pac-12. And that goes beyond the football field to culture, environment, the area of the country, the people involved, the music, the flavor, the food they eat. It's college football has a culture that's different in every area of the country, and you bring that together, and it's interesting. It's healthy because Ohio State plays Alabama in a huge game, and besides there just being two talented teams, they're different areas of the country, and there's just different vibe there. UCLA plays Miami in Edgerrin James in 1998. It's different football, And that's both on the field and that's the event, the culture too. And that gets ripped away when these conferences get so big and the geography breaks down. So the Big Ten right now, Nebraska and Rutgers, which is just outside of New York City for anybody who doesn't know, what those two places have to do with one another, I don't really know.
And that's why the funny part about this, Mark, for about 3 weeks now, I've been going into these deep dives of conference realignment. I remember there's like a 3-year-old video of you and this young fella, and it's like an hour long, and you guys just went piece by piece of each conference in each area and realigned it. Now, some of you guys agreed, some were slightly different, and I was just like, this is nice, because I agree with that sentiment. But I also think that it hasn't been like that for like the last maybe 5 years or so. Here's why. The Oregon spread that I watched in 2009, 2010 is being played all the way from Oregon up to Wyoming, all the way over to Boston College and Pitt, all the way down to FIU here down in Miami. So that kind of way and flavor and brand of ball is not necessarily null and void, but it's just not there anymore. Okay, the big I formation Big Ten guys. I mean, if you think about the early 2000s, late 90s, 80s, 70s, whatever you want to go, the reason why the Rose Bowl was so beautiful is because you're like, all right, those fast, quick guys from Arizona State had to line up and play against the big country boys, Northern Midwest guys from Michigan State, and the I formation versus kind of an air raiding look, and how would the corners go against those wide receivers, zone necessarily against nice route combinations, as opposed to the Arizona State would probably be press man, one high, in your face, speed kind of ball. Those quick, fast 210, 250-pound linebackers having to go up against 330-pound guards and a 235-pound running back. It was a little bit different brand of ball clashing. And that's what made for these historic games and these amazing matchups, because it was different brands of ball. You don't necessarily see that type of stuff anymore. And I think that's where your sentiment really can hit, is that it just doesn't work like that anymore, because the guys in the Big Ten is running spread and 4-2-5 nickel defense. It's like the guys in the SEC, the guys in the ACC, the guys in the Pac-12 and the Big 12. So, the far as the brands are just not the same anymore. And I think it's kind of all meshed together. And this college football is college football. And you also have the viewpoint of, used to have the view where a guy from Arizona, the best player, usually either went to maybe USC or UCLA or stayed home and played at AU or ASU. Now you got guys that are from San Jose, California, that come and play ball in Athens, Georgia, or from Oregon that come and play ball down in Gainesville, Florida. So it's not really even a sense of state pride anymore. Where you're from, it's city pride anymore. It's really down to the best programs, and that's all that college football really is about, is who has the best programs. And if you want to start talking about the bag man and all that stuff, then you can go down that route, but I choose not to right now. At the end of the day, it's about who's going to give you the best opportunity to help feed your family on Sundays, and creating the best teams on the football field and stacking 5-star on top of 5-star on top of 5-star to create great competition in practice and on that football field.
Scott, we appreciate the super chat. Scott is saying here, I don't like that it's becoming more about the business aspect from what makes college football what it is, the culture, and the aspect of every conference, trading of each conference, if I'm reading that correctly. All right.
I think he has a good point, and like I said in my soliloquy, in my comment, I understand. I think we brought this up to each other maybe like 6-8 months ago when I brought that conversation to you. Like, wherever your residency is, you can only sign with whatever school is in that state. And that wasn't, I wouldn't say it kind of was an unwritten rule if you go back in tradition, where you really didn't have people going cross country like that. They would still be in kind of that region, but if you're from somewhere in Florida, you either went to the Big Three or maybe you went to Bama or Georgia, but still in that region. You weren't hopping and going way to USC and vice versa. So I felt like it had a different brand and pride and effort in that ball because, yeah, I'm from Miami. I played at Miami. Okay. Not necessarily I'm from Tallahassee, but I'm from Orlando and I played at Tallahassee. Well, I'm from Pittsburgh and I played at Penn State. I grew up coming to these games. My parents are alumni. I'm going to be a future alumni, and I'm going to go out here and play for the football team. Things of that nature. It just had a different feel, and you don't get that anymore. That's gone. So if people want to argue that part and the nostalgia and the band and the tradition and dotting the I and running out of smoke, and if you want to argue that part of college football is gone, and now it's about name, image, and likeness and conference realignment and money and things of that nature. I'm sorry, but it's been going in this direction for a little bit. We're just living in it now.
So what you just stated about where the players are from and where they now play versus the choices that they were making to stay home years ago, I made a similar comment to that in that same way a couple days ago. I don't have any metrics or statistics to back it up. If somebody wants to do it, I always come up with these questions or these statistics that I would like to see that somebody would really have to do some serious research. I'm not going to do it because I got to make a buck, but I would love for somebody to go through all the major powers in college football and see where their players come from today, last year, the year before, and go all the way back for generations just to see, to back up the statement we just made. Because I made the same statement the other day. I'm making an assumption because I don't know for sure, but I assumed that Ohio State had more players from Ohio on the roster in 1990 than they do today. And
it's funny you say
and
that.
on through the other teams as well.
I was talking to one of the coaches about that, and he's from Nebraska, and he was saying, like, it's so sickening to watch some college football and they go through the marquee, and you got guys from Virginia playing at Nebraska. You got guys from Florida playing at Ohio State. He's like, used to be some sense of like state pride, or at least like region. Of course, Michigan and Ohio would flop players. Some of the best players from Ohio would go to Michigan and Michigan State. Some of the best players from Michigan would go over to Ohio State. And that happened more often than the opposite. You know, Michigan guys would go over to Ohio. But Ohio has great ball to where they really wouldn't have to leave their state for almost anything, if we're being honest. Cornerbacks, receivers, quarterbacks, offensive, defensive line. You can stay in Ohio and really build those. So, again, I understand people's viewpoint. I just disagree on it. Pressing the panic button because Texas and OU joins the conference. It's like, trust me, the conversations we're having right now, the conversations that you're having on the phone, best believe those ACC teams and those American teams, the Conference USA and Mount West, and I'm going to just tell it to you like this, Mark. What I hope happens is that everyone does take a step up. What I mean by step up is the ACC opens their doors to a couple of American teams. The Big Eight now opens their conference to a couple of teams from the Group of Five. Because what that does for a couple people at another level, the FCS level, is that great prestigious programs finally get a chance. And maybe they can get that opportunity to go to the Conference USA and go to conference, go to an American like James Madison, something like that. Being in the DMV area can have a chance to jump into the American Conference. Teams like North Dakota State, teams like South Dakota State can jump up into maybe the Mountain West Conference or Conference USA or the MAC, things of that nature. Teams like a Sam Houston State can join the American and really take a step up. And then that would just force, again, a nice big jump up moving forward. So that's just my view on it.
The Big 12's dead, though. it may not die completely. They could salvage the conference, but the conference is not going to be what it was before. Therefore, it's going to be largely irrelevant. It's not going to be a power conference. So one of two things is going to happen. Either the current Big 12/Big 8 teams, it's going to get poached by the other conferences. And so Oklahoma State and TCU and the better football playing teams, Iowa State, are going to get picked off. And then that conference is going to be down to 5 or 6 teams and probably crumble. Or they've got an opportunity, if they can act quickly, to add Memphis, Houston, SMU, whomever else, and build up to maybe even more teams than they have right now. Maybe they build up to 12. Maybe they go with more quantity. But I can't imagine that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee is going to give them the status as, you know, those first 4 conference champions with the best ranking are going to get a slot. I don't think when TCU or Oklahoma State's your best football program, they're going to lose that status. They're going to be an American conference is basically what they're going to be. And I don't even know if a Cincinnati or Houston or anybody, Memphis, would jump now from the American conference to that conference unless they did it together and said, okay, we can save this conference and we're going to get TCU and Kansas State and all those. So we're going to get some solid football programs. So let's all jump together. But I don't know if Cincinnati would jump by themselves, knowing that they're in a good conference right now. They're in the 6th best conference in the country, to go to a possibly sinking ship.
See, I agree. I think what they could do is all join and turn it into the Big 16, and where they just bring on the best of the group of 5, add it to what they have right now, and just basically say, all right, well, you don't want to give you an undefeated UCF an opportunity to make it. If they're in a Power 5 conference and we've added them, we still have our Power 5 eligibility. Now you can't ignore them. You can't ignore Cincinnati. You can't ignore a UCF if they're in the Big 16, is what we're talking about right now, and they're undefeated and they're a conference champion. But I think what fits their narrative of the top 4 teams, especially for the next 3 to 4 years before the 12-team playoff is official and takes effect, I think that's what 2025 also, right? Or 24, 25, somewhere in there, where they go to the Big 4. And so the Big 8 splits up amongst these other conferences, and then you just take the 4 conference champions and then they battle it out in the playoff. You could take that conversation too. But then people get mad about that.
If I'm the ACC, you know what I'm doing right now? Besides just having another argument with Notre Dame to say, come on, join the conference in football.
On, baby. I let you cheat on me.
You know who I'm going after? Guess who I'm going after if I'm the ACC besides Notre Dame?
UCF.
UCF.
Mark, I watch almost all your videos. I know.
I am going after UCF. They were playing at a high level a few years ago, so they've proven capable of doing that. They love football there. They want to be
coach.
They've got a big time coach right now who has shown that he can win at a certain level. Went to a national championship game. The school has shown that they will invest in football. They want to win in football. They've got a huge, you talk about entertainment and NIL, they're in the home of Disney. They're in the state of Florida to recruit Florida.
The Atlantic. Let them beat on Clemson and Tallahassee and give Miami Notre Dame. Send Notre Dame to the Coastal and send UCF to the Atlantic. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Mark, if they come into our division and win the ACC Coastal year 1, and don't let them upset Clemson and the ACC, and then they just hop from the American to the group, man, Mark, we will be in trouble. I'm not scared. I'm just saying, as a Miami Hurricanes fan, we better get our stuff together, something like that, where to go down, Mark. And I'll tell you this much. I did a nice makeup, in my opinion, of the teams that I would want in the ACC, right? So in the Coastal, I had Miami, of course, North Carolina, Bob Tech, and Georgia Tech. Okay, I would keep them. Those would be the teams I would keep in the Atlantic. Like I said, it's my fantasy editions. I would add Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Okay, those two teams.
Okay.
And did I say UCF? Those are the 6 I got right now. It'll come to me the other guy. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and there was one more I had over there. Anyway, the Atlantic, I would keep Clemson, Tallahassee, NC State, Louisville, but I would add Cincinnati, UCF, and Notre Dame to the Atlantic. I'm trying to think of the other team.
We're kicking Pitt, Syracuse, BC.
Yep, kick them out. Kick them out.
Is Georgia Tech out?
No, Georgia Tech. Tech is. I keep both.
Duke's out.
West Virginia. That's the other Virginia team. I basically own the Virginia market on the coastal. So
you kick
Miami,
Duke out.
Yeah, Duke.
You're not a basketball person. You're kicking them out. Okay.
Go to the American.
Okay. This is fantasy. Okay.
That's why I said it's fantasy. But here's
Sure.
the thing, though.
Yeah.
We get to keep the basketball market with North Carolina and Kentucky. Right? Now it ain't Kansas. When they're not Kansas, but they're Kentucky. Then Vanderbilt just won the national championship in baseball. So now you're adding a big-time baseball program while adding the replacement for Duke as the doormat of the Coastal on that side. You know?
I actually don't know in some seasons going back, especially when James Franklin was there, that Vandy would be the doormat. They would now, and they would be a number of other times.
They may mess around and go 8-4 in the Coastal.
If
they just hopped in the regular Coastal now, they might go 8-4.
If I'm running the Big Ten, and I figure if I come to the conclusion this is getting cutthroat, and I've heard rumors, and you can't discount these rumors now because it doesn't follow logic. I told I don't know how many people the last few days that in previous expansion situations, I could follow the dominoes and tell you what made sense for this particular school to join that league and go at the geography and outline the whole thing. But now they're talking about the Big Ten going out to the West Coast and grabbing USC and UCLA just to play football and just pulling them out of the Pac-12. So if it's going to that level, if I'm the Big Ten, I'm going to go skip a bunch of states. Hey, the Big 12 did it when they grabbed West Virginia. They skipped about 5 states over. And I'd do the same thing if I was the Big 10. If the ACC is not going to grab UCF, I'm going to get that Florida market if I'm the Big 10.
And that would be such a big thing for the ACC to do, is because now you're going to have you have all 3 sections of a primary football state. You have the northernest that you can go in the state of Florida, in Tallahassee. You would have the central market with University of Central Florida in Orlando. You would have the southern market with Miami. You would have all 3 teams. The only thing that you would want is, honestly, if all 3 of them were on the same side. I've always felt like that just makes sense, but that's just me. I feel like they did Miami a favor by putting us on the coastal side, and we have not returned the favor by winning that side enough, because they always wanted that great game for a championship of Miami versus Tallahassee. And Tallahassee, I mean, for as long as they've been in there, they've always held up their side. It's just Miami hasn't really held up our side of the deal, to be honest with you. But like I said, a lot of people do not want UCF in the ACC because, number one, you're going to validate a program that's been waiting. And number 2, there's a chance for them, especially as Miami Hurricanes fans, there's a chance for them to come in and supersede us year 1. Like I said, I'm not scared. I would love to line it up and play football with them, but I'm just saying, think big picture here. There's a chance for them to come in and really go whoop, whoop, right over Miami's step and make their claim for their shot in the Big 3.
All right, folks, we've kept the wholesome one for overtime here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate everybody being here. And I've got a Nebraska show coming up tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. So please join us for that over on the Nebraska channel. Join the wholesome one, of course, on his channel. Tons of great breakdown. And now we are in his wheelhouse as we get to fall camp.
Yeah, it's almost time, Mark. Next week, it's almost time. So, hey, I appreciate you all. And Mark, we probably be moving to, if that's okay with you, moving to Tuesday afternoons because it'll work better for my schedule.
It works better for football season too, because these conversations are relevant for longer in the week.
And then that gives Cam his own day, you know, and Cam got the Thursday nights.
It's a beautiful thing.
We got Tuesday afternoons. So we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen here.
Awesome.
MarkRogersTV, baby.
All right, Wholesome One. Appreciate it, man. You have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. As always, God bless and go Cam.